Hi, lovies. This video is going to be a little bit more on the serious side because it's personal. I think I briefly mentioned in one of my previous videos issue I had. I went to the hospital. I burned my arm, and I was given medication I was allergic to. And what I really didn't get into with that video is that I suffered from severe panic attacks for many, many years. Went to a lot of counseling for it and was put on medication for it. And it was many years of it was horrible. It was a horrible way to live. So that was back in, I believe it was 2004 that happened to me. And I lost a lot of my life because of it. I spent the majority of my days trying to fight off panic attacks. I was convinced that I was going to die. If I ate something I hadn't eaten before, I was going to have an allergic reaction to it and I was going to die. If I drank something that I hadn't drank before, came in contact with something that I never came in contact with before, my brain was rewired to believe that I was going to die because of that. This allergic reaction to this medication, I was given a shot, and there I go with the again. Bring a little light into this. I was given a shot, and within, I would say, just a few minutes, I could feel my body get very, very hot, and I was very, very dizzy, and basically, I just knew I was going to die. I don't know how I knew. I don't know what from, but I just knew, I can remember taking my last breath. I can remember the feeling, the heat going through your body, which is very similar to an adrenaline rush, which also come with panic attacks. That feeling, at least for me, it did. It may have been related to what I went through, and that's why that feeling would trigger a panic attack. I don't know, but I remember feeling that. I remember them calling code blue, although at that point they said that I was not alive at that point, not breathing, but I can remember them calling code blue. I can remember watching them put the tube down my throat. I can remember them doing this with and I don't know the exact terms, so forgive me, but the little ball thing, like as they were taking me to the ICU, I remember that. I remember not feeling like I was getting enough air. So there were a lot of points within this period of time that those things stuck with me, and I couldn't get them out of my head. And every time I would encounter something throughout the day that would make me think of that, it would go into a full-blown panic attack. Horrible. I would not wish them on my worst enemy. They're debilitating, they're real, and they're not easy to deal with. It's very, very hard to live like that, extremely hard to live like that. So when somebody tells me that they suffer from anxiety or have panic attacks, I can relate, and I feel for them. Now, while I do still have them, even this many years later, I do still have them, not as frequently, but I do still get them. They don't last as long. I know how to combat that feeling now. And I'm going to tell you how I did it, how I got through. And it took me probably about 6 years before I finally figured out something that worked for me to make them stop. Once they started to make them subside, to help them subside, I should say. So I'm going to go into that. But the first thing I wanted to do, the thing that took my life from me for so many years, I saved all of that stuff. This box right here, this is all of my hospital paperwork. Everything related to that day is in this box. I never threw it out. This right here is a card from my girls when I was in the hospital. I saved that. My girls are now 21 and 24. A little picture of some camels that they drew for me. That's a whole other story in itself. Up until about maybe 5 years ago, they never knew what happened. Very protective mom. Never wanted them to know that I was almost taken away from them. Or I was taken away from them and then brought back. I always protected them from that because they never wanted them to be afraid of losing me. They only had me. I was their mom. Their dad wasn't part of their lives. So I never wanted them to live like that, you know. So anyway, I didn't tell them for a long time, many years. So that was the card that they gave me. I still have that. And these here are my bracelets I had when I was admitted and the bracelets I had while I was there after I had the allergic reaction. This right here, this bracelet says, allergy alert. Penicillin, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. Okay. Penicillin. Okay. This video is important for those of you allergic to penicillin because I'm allergic to penicillin and I was given Ansef and that's what killed me. That's what took away so many years of my life. I was given Ansef. Ansef is a derivative of penicillin. Be very careful when you go into an emergency room or you see a doctor that does not know you, pharmacy, anybody. Make sure they know about that specific medication. Have them research the history of that medication to see if there could be a link between the medication that you're being prescribed and the medication you have an allergy to. Ask questions. It's important to ask questions. It's your body. Please ask questions. This one here is the one they put on after I died and came back. This one here now includes cephalosporins. Okay. Cephalosporins are inclusive of penicillin and Ansef and many others. But now when I tell a doctor or a pharmacist or anything like that what my allergies are, as a matter of fact, I have tags on my purse that I carry with me. I just say all cephalosporins. I'm allergic to all cephalosporins. And then I also say penicillin and Ansef just to make sure. For years, you know, I wasn't living, you know. My whole day was based around battling panic attacks. And they were very real. And my mom lives next door. And there were so many days where she had to come and just sit by my bed because I wanted her to be there when I died so my girls didn't have to see it. That's how convinced I was that I was going to die again. So, as you can see, this is like really personal for me. Let me get into now how I'm going to throw that box away. That box needs to go in the garbage now. Maybe I'll burn it. So let me go into a little bit of how I learned to battle them, and maybe that will help somebody. Everybody's degree of panic attacks and reasons are very different. I am in no way, shape, or form comparing mine to somebody else's. There are so many people out there that have panic attacks for reasons that are much more horrible than mine. But maybe this will help. You know, maybe it will just help it, you know, even subside a little bit. What I finally found, I was reading on the internet about panic attacks. I did that quite often. to help to keep my mind busy. And I came across one, and it said, fear is a feeling, and I don't know if I'm quoting this, but this is what I got from it. Fear is the fear of fear itself. So when you fear something, how can I put this across? It builds up just more fear. So when you're afraid of something, it's almost like a vicious cycle inside of your body. So what I would do is I would go into the bathroom. Again, my girls had no idea I was going through any of this. I hid it, which was also really, really, really hard. It's not easy to hide a panic attack. So I would go in my bathroom, and at that point, my bathroom was probably the size of a public stall. I mean, that's how small my bathroom was in the house at that time. And I would go in there and I would kickbox in the mirror. I would kickbox. I would punch. I would just do everything I possibly could to beat up, demolish that fear that was inside of me, because I knew that's what was growing my panic attack. That's what was fueling it. That's what was making it get worse. And I would punch and kick, and couldn't scream because I didn't want the girls to hear me, but that would help too if you have that option. And then it would just, I would feel better. I would almost start to breathe again, because when I was having my panic attacks, I felt like I was not breathing. And then, I did that for a long time, and eventually it got to the point where I could fight it in my head. I didn't have to physically do it anymore. But once I was convinced, after a long period of time, it wasn't overnight, that I could battle these feelings, they started to go away little by little by little. They started to get less frequent. Instead of having 15, 20 a day, I would go to, and it just kept going down and down and down until eventually they were not gone. But like I said, I still have a few, sometimes, but I'm able to fight them in my head now, because I know what works, and I know that it's not real. And when you're in a state of that panic attack, you cannot differentiate real from, real feelings from what's in your head. They're real. They are real feelings. And so that's my story. That's how I battled my panic attacks and the reasons for my panic attacks. Went through many years of counseling, and it was helpful. I went to a psychiatrist that did that repetitive. I don't even know what it's called, but they make you repeat certain parts of the incident over and over and over again until you desensitize yourself. That was horrible. That made me 10 times worse than I was before. Things like, can I remember and I was even doing that now. That's the one thing that sticks out, because they would ask me to repeat the scenario where the nurse was wiping my face, and the color of the towel, I could see all of it so clearly at that time. So, things like that, like different things that stood out. They make you repeat them over and over until you condition your brain. I guess I don't know what the purpose of it was, but it made it worse. It was horrible. It was horrible. So hopefully this can help somebody. That's the reason I'm doing this video. I don't know if it's something that you've tried already, but that's it. I mean, I hope I can help someone. I hope, someone tries that and they're successful, because it's a horrible way to live. It's horrible. If you have any questions, anything like that, let me know. So that's it. I hope you guys have a good day. I will talk to you soon. Bye.